We're giving you a closer look at the four Democrats seeking your vote in the May 20th primary. Tonight, the campaign trail takes 8 on Your Side government reporter Pete Muntean to Pittsburgh with Tom Wolf.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tom Wolf.
Tom.
Shaking hands in the Steel City is now a weekly occurrence for this York native. And on this trip, Tom Wolf is especially comfortable.
Nice to meet you.
Here, the 65-year-old businessman is visiting shops in Pittsburgh's Little Italy.
I used to run a hardware store, and I used to be on the other side of the counter, so I understand this.
This store itself is based in 1962.
Really?
Now the owner of his family business, a cabinetry company that employs hundreds, Wolf tells me his strength is in his story and fixing big state issues. Beyond increasing education funding, he wants to make schools less reliant on property taxes. He thinks of the public schooling his 2 daughters received when it comes to spreading state wealth.
I think somebody has to say that. We have to remind ourselves why this is a public, not a private good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Tom.
Wolf says the key to helping kids lies in finding new funding streams.
This is little Geo.
Drawing on his time as state revenue secretary under Ed Rendell, he wants to increase taxes on Pennsylvania's booming shale industry.
It would make us, I think, a stronger partner with the industry if we all shared in the benefit.
If he becomes governor, Wolf says he would draw on his varied background. As a Peace Corps volunteer, he helped change the way villagers cultivated rice in India. He says it's that quality that will win him allies in Harrisburg.
What I understand is that in all these contexts, all it is about getting people to do things you'd like them to do. It's leadership. I've done that, and I would continue to do that as governor.
Wolf says he's passionate about job creation as well, especially for young people. He wants to fully fund programs that would bridge skills gaps in manufacturing. Ron, tomorrow we continue our series of reports on the Democratic candidates for governor with U.S. Congresswoman Allison Schwartz.
Not too much longer now.
That's right.
Thank you, Pete.
Tonight's other big story, primary election results.
All eyes were on the Democrats running for governor, and here are the results. A landslide victory for York County native son Tom Wolf. With 91% of the vote now counted, it is Wolf with a whopping 58% of the vote over his nearest rival Allison Schwartz with 17%, Rob McCord 17%, and Katie McGinty 8%.
Well, 8 on Your Side government reporter Pete Muntean is at Tom Wolf's victory party in York. He's live from Santander Stadium. Pete?
And what a victory party it was, Janelle and Ron. The stands filled with very loud and boisterous supporters tonight. That 60 by 30-foot American flag back there made this race seem almost presidential rather than gubernatorial. But perhaps the biggest moment, the loudest moment of the night, came because of that Jumbotron back there. It was only an hour after the polls closed that the live results were posted up there showing Wolf with a landslide. Just a few minutes later, there was an announcement made over the public address system that this race had been called by the Associated Press in favor of Wolf. And since Wolf rented out this entire stadium, he came in riding into home, sliding into home on his signature Jeep. You've seen it in his commercials. The York County businessman addressed this boisterous crowd with his wife and 2 daughters. He told them his top priorities are jobs and education, and Wolf says a vote for him in November will give Pennsylvanians a fair shot.
We all deserve a bright future right here in Pennsylvania, a future, a promise. Pennsylvania's worthy of that. Let's deliver on that. And right now, as of today, as of this moment, let's get started. Thank you very much.
Shook hands with supporters for about a half hour before returning to his York County home. When asked if he can handle taking on Governor Corbett in the fall, Wolf simply said Pennsylvanians are ready for a change. And if Wolf does unseat Governor Corbett in the fall, he will become the first person since the 1970s, more than 40 years, to unseat an incumbent governor. Ron, Janelle, back to you.
All right, what a big night for Tom Wolf. Thanks, Pete. As Pete mentioned, Wolf will run against Governor Corbett this fall. The Republican incumbent is in Pittsburgh tonight celebrating a primary victory of his own. News 8's Barbara Barr is there, and she joins us live with more. Barbara.
Governor Tom Corbett called this the kickoff to the fall campaign, and he also called on his friend, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, to tape a video message before he came out. The governor and lieutenant governor did not waste any time in attacking Tom Wolf, the Democratic nominee, calling him a tax and spend liberal who will reverse the gains the Corbett administration has made in the past few years. Now, Corbett entered this ballroom to cheers of 4 more years, but he certainly has an uphill battle. He has been showing low poll numbers ever since really his first year in office, and polls also show him trailing Tom Wolf at this point. But he, while not mentioning Wolf by name, says that he will raise taxes, including putting a tax on the Marcellus shale industry, while Corbett will keep taxes low, continue to increase jobs, and restore funding to education.
While other states are still struggling from the Great Recession, Pennsylvania is roaring back. It's why we don't have the kind of dysfunction and turmoil that we're seeing not too far from here in Washington, D.C.
On a video screen taping that message before Corbett came out. Part of it was that he'd be with him every step of the way, so we will see if he actually comes to Pennsylvania to campaign for Governor Tom Corbett. But make no mistake, he certainly laid out the game plan here for attacking Tom Wolf, basically saying that he will raise taxes and stunt job creation, while Corbett believes that he has Pennsylvania on the right track. We're live in Pittsburgh. We'll send it back to you.
Now, Commitment 2014 coverage of the race for governor. Tonight, the candidates debated in Pittsburgh as Republican incumbent Tom Corbett is trailing Democrat Tom Wolf 17 points in the latest poll.
8 on your side, government reporter Pete Muntean is live from our Hearst sister station, WTAE. Pete.
Good evening from Pittsburgh, Janelle and Ron. You know, coming into Studio A here at WTAE tonight, political analysts said that the Governor Tom Corbett, needed to do something big to shake up this race. And the governor said he did that tonight by zeroing in on Tom Wolf's weak spots.
Tonight, our questions and yours are on the table.
In this third and final debate, Governor Tom Corbett got in his jabs when it came to his record on education funding. Democrat Tom Wolf says Corbett cut $1 billion from schools during his first term.
Clearly, my opponent, along with the public sector unions, have been saying and lying that we cut. The cut took place in the Rendell administration.
Yes, funding was cut from the federal government, but that doesn't relieve a leader from making tough decisions.
Wolf was then hammered by Corbett on his tax plan. The Democrat wants to raise the personal income tax for those making more than $90,000 a year. Corbett wants to know how much.
I've gone as far as I think I can go and still be honest.
That's again another dodge of answering the question.
On the size of the state's General Assembly,
I'm against reducing the size.
I'm for it. I am for it.
On raising the state's minimum wage.
It should be increased to $10.10 over a 3-year period, and then it should be indexed to inflation.
I believe it should stay along with the federal wage.
And for the first time ever in these debates, medical marijuana came up. Governor Corbett reiterated there's not enough research to support such legislation.
I've had to do over the many, many years that is a gateway drug that creates all of the drug problems that we're seeing here in Pennsylvania and the United States.
We need to legalize medical marijuana immediately. We need to work quickly on that.
Also, for the first time ever in a debate, the candidates came down on the state's death penalty. Corbett says it's tough but necessary, but Democrat Tom Wolf said he would support a moratorium. Live in Pittsburgh, Pete Muntean, News 8.
8 days from the election, and we are digging deeper about where the candidates stand on key issues.
Both men sat down with 8 on your side government reporter Pete Muntean, who joins us now.
Well, the surveys consistently say that education is the top issue in this campaign. And in our exclusive interviews, Republican incumbent Tom Corbett and Democrat Tom Wolf each put their own spin on spending in the past, and both have different answers on approaches for the future and for the record. When it comes to funding our 3,100 public schools, there are 2 polarizing positions.
Education would not be at the bottom of the list in terms of priorities.
We need a good funding formula, a fair funding formula.
Governor Tom Corbett wants to change the narrative that he cut $1 billion from schools in his first state budget. Corbett says the state fell victim to federal stimulus money that went away.
We did not have money to replace that federal money without doing something that I don't think the people of Pennsylvania wanted us to do, and that was raise their taxes.
Money was cut. $1 billion was cut. It was cut in the budget that he signed.
Democrat Tom Wolf says he wants to restore the so-called cuts by putting a 5% severance tax on natural gas drillers. That would need approval from the state legislature, which is controlled by Republicans.
I don't think it would take too much. The big piece would be the extraction tax, but I'm sensing that there's an appetite for that even on the Republican side.
What happens if you don't get it?
Then I'll be in trouble. The funding is not the end-all and be-all of education. My point is you can't keep taking money out of education and get to a good end.
We have increased funding in education.
We're going to continue to do that.
Money Corbett, a former teacher, says the state will spend responsibly by possibly changing the way it divvies out money to each district, known in Harrisburg as the Fair Funding Formula.
How do you find that balance between what parents want, what Pennsylvanians want, what school districts want, and still having to balance the budget? How would you do that in your second term?
Well, that is the great problem for the entire legislature and governor to come up with. The fair funding formula to address the issues is going to be very, very important. The teachers union were not able to satisfy the spending that they want to do without increasing the taxes on the back of the taxpayers of Pennsylvania.
Corbett says a long-term money-saving solution is a fix to the state's public employee pension system, and something lawmakers have not been interested in tackling, and something that candidates also have different perspectives on. We'll pick up with that topic tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Pete.
News 8's continuing commitment 2014 election night coverage begins right now.
You're watching WGAL 8. Now, coverage you can count on continues from the Susquehanna Valley's most watched news team. This is News 8 at 11 in HD.
It was a race that was called early and quickly. And here are the results. With 91% reporting at this hour, it is Tom Wolf with 55% of the vote, Tom Corbett 45%.
8 on your side, government reporter Pete Montine is in York right now, where the governor-elect is celebrating.
Janelle and Ron, you know, a lot of history was made here tonight. Wolf is now the first man to unseat a sitting Pennsylvania governor in 40 years. Possibly the loudest moment of the night came because of what came through that garage door over there. Wolf drove through it in his signature Jeep, taking a literal victory lap in front of this crowd of hundreds. Taking the stage with his wife Frances and his 2 daughters, the 65-year-old businessman thanked his fellow York Countyans for getting him elected. He says education spending and the economy were backbones of this race, and now the real work begins.
I also recognize the responsibility that had been placed on my shoulders to do great things for Pennsylvania. I know that there is a heavy, fearsome responsibility on me. This is not just about the honor of getting votes, it's about the necessity for doing things for Pennsylvania.
A bit of a testament to money in politics. Wolf spent $30 million on this race. $10 million of that came out of his own pocket. The governor-elect will be inaugurated on January 20th. Ron, Janelle.
All right, thank you, Pete.